Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Right, so here, okay, let's paint a portrait. First I'm gonna draw the skull. Remember that when I was a student, I got the first anatomy class at the second year, and it was about portraits. It was about the human face. I'm gonna use a little bit of raw umber. Usually there is a pretty good synchronization when you study art. I remember I used to draw at night. I used to paint in the mornings, and we study anatomy on the afternoons. Like it was just once a week. I was pretty excited about the first class. In the first class, it was about the skull. Okay, just like the image that you have on top, and that was just a skull and a sculpture of a skull, and next to that one there was a sculpture like this one with the planes of the face. Okay, I'm gonna need to just take out this from here, just paint for you all to see the painting. And I remember the teacher comparing both, because at some point it was basically just about, for me it was about thinking about the bones. And I remember before the class I was trying to study the bones and trying to memorize all the names. Okay, I got this just drawing. Now I'm gonna draw the skull. Okay, I remember trying to learn all the names just by memory. It's pretty hard. Even today I don't remember all the names. But studying anatomy is not just about that. I think it's more about drawing more than once, obviously the skull, and understand how the skull shows through the skin, how we can see the planes of the face, and just how we can place some lights and highlights on the face based on the bones, on the bone structure. That's what I learned on the first class of this of anatomy, more than 30 years ago, almost 40 years ago. Okay, here we have the eye sockets. One thing, the eye sockets, the upper part of the eye sockets are aligned with the eyebrows. Okay, for the bottom part you can split this in two, from the eyebrows to the nose. But this is not perfect. But I consider that it's important at least to have some measurement that's closer to something. In this case that I mentioned, now remember that halfway from the eyebrow to the bottom of the nose. That's the bottom of the eye socket. Okay, and now remember going back to my story about when I was a student. I remember the teacher just comparing the planes from this planar face, this planar sculpture, with the planes that we could see on the skull. And usually we have different lights, different lighting, and the idea about the study was changing the lights, turn on a light on the left and then turn on a light on the right, and obviously you turn off the other light. In that way you have what we used to call form light. A form light is, imagine all the Rembrandt's paintings where you see light in one side and shadow. We call that a form light. Okay, and a reflected light in one side, because that creates more volume, and that's what we need to see clearly. Okay, all the lights, midtones and shadows, and at the same time just keep let's say the synchronization with a primary form, which is a sphere, in order to start shading the face. Okay, we have here the eye socket, Here, this portion is the nasal bone. This upper portion, that's what we call the nasal bone. Here is just cartilage on top of this. Okay, the maxilla is this upper part. Here is the cheekbone. This cheekbone is pretty important because it separates the planes of the face. Okay, that's what is called zygomatic bone. And the zygomatic bone stops around here and then continues the zygomatic arc to the ear canal around here. Okay. Now the upper part here, where we see the upper teeth, is what we call the maxilla. Okay, all this area here. And the bottom part is we call the mandible. Muscles are attached from the zygomatic bone. Okay, here they go like a spider web to the corner of the mouth, but they're not attached to the bone. They're attached to the bone here, attached to the bone on the mandible. Okay. Now, we used to draw, and I remember that was a small classroom, and all the students on this classroom, they were painters and sculptors mostly. Okay, and we just draw from the skull, and draw this face of the sculpture made of planes, to understand the light, how the light was coming from one side and the other side. Okay, I'm gonna put it here again on the screen. I'm speaking about this one. Did you see the light on the skull on top? It has the same light from the left. The image I found has the same light from the left, and this image have the same light from the left. That's something that we try to match when the teacher tried to match, in the painting class, the drawing class, and the anatomy class. When I was a teacher, it was like 6-7 years ago, I tried to do the same. Synchronization, okay, for all the students to try to learn as much as possible from the anatomy of the face. Hey, hello Pierre, hello Sylvia, sorry I don't know how to pronounce your name. I see a hand here. Hello Michael, hello Johnny, hello Marius. Thank you everybody for being here. Okay, I need to just take up this image from the screen. Now that I got the face, the skull here, okay, I got more images. Got this one and I got this one to remember the names. To be honest, a lot of times I just keep forgetting the names. I need to go over this from time to time to remember the names. Yeah, but the thing is that I gotta say that's more about drawing the face than remember the names. Drawing the skull, don't remember the names. After getting this skull, okay, I think I should make it a little bit bigger. I'm gonna just move the camera a little bit closer. Okay, there. Maybe not. Maybe I just need to make it drawing a little bit bigger when I add the planes and the skin. Yeah. Okay, now we need the other image. Okay, remember the name. This is within the bone, that's more important. Zygomatic bone, zygomatic arc, eye sockets, nasal bone. All this upper part is the maxilla, the bottom part is the mandible, the frontal plane, uh, the frontal bone, sorry, then is here the peridor bone. Sorry if I mispronouncing the name. Okay, now I'm gonna switch to the other photograph. I'm gonna move this one up here. Okay, now, and the exercise, it was just a combination between these two. You see the scar, okay, and at the same time you got the sculpture next to that one. It's pretty good when you have it in real life. Why? Because in the classroom you have different angles. You could draw it. It was about just making a sketch, drawing a sketch. You can draw it from one angle and then move to the right. And everybody after 10 minutes was moving from different angles, from here, from there, to draw the scar and draw this planar face from different angles. That would be an exercise that I could just suggest everybody to do. You can just buy, a smaller plastic scar and use one of these sculptures with where we can see clearly the planes. Okay, the nasal bone, we can see clearly here, is made of one plane. It's pretty good when you have the same light and shadows. Just remember that you do an exercise with this. And don't go for details. It's about repetition. It's better to draw 10 drawings in an hour than just one drawing in an hour. It's about repetition more than getting a perfect drawing. It's more about drawing this from different angles. Okay. I'm just using raw umber. I'm going to mention the names of the colors in a second. Just trying to get the planes. This is not going to be perfect. I have one video where I draw the planes. I spend more time on the video drawing the planes more than this one, because this is more like just a combination, and I'm just painting this because I remember this class, anatomy class, that was pretty good. Okay, the planes here. One thing why it's important to draw from these planar faces is because we learn to draw how tilted are all these planes, and that's just one problem, one big problem for beginners. And I think everybody can relate that one problem is sometimes the alignment of the eyes. We paint and paint and paint. After 2 hours, we check out and we notice that one eye is a little bit up than the other. And that mistake is just because sometimes we misconfuse. We think an angle is like this, but we draw it a little bit tilted, or it's tilted and we draw it a bit more tilted than it is. And that changed the whole face. That was pretty frustrating for me when I draw from these sculptures, because it was just like building a puzzle that was so difficult, so easy to destroy as soon as you got one angle wrong. Okay, the whole face, it was wrong. Okay. Yeah. I like it. I got some planes. I think that's good enough for. I'm gonna just add a bit more details on the eyes, just to show the planes of the eyes. think with those planes are just enough. Another thing that this helps, look at the photograph and look at where are the darker areas. Okay, now if you see the photograph, you're gonna see that's a little bit darker here. Okay, it's not that dark here like on the planar face, but here there's a good point to see. And you see the shadow, the cast shadow, how it goes down. Exactly, kind of match perfectly the photograph. Okay, not in the neck, but that's pretty good. Look at the shadow on the forehead. The thing is that once you practice this, it's kind of, you cannot stop looking for these planes on every face. But obviously it's about practice. You need to go over this again and again. In that way, you get used to, see these planes here and there. And when you forget, you need to look for those planes on the face. Think about anatomy, think about the planes. And it's not like you're gonna go over the process of drawing the skull and then the planes and then the face. But definitely when you have more knowledge about what beneath the skin, the structure and the volume is going to improve on your paintings. Okay, after this, the color is another thing that we need to work on. Hello, Ray J. Oh, thank you. Hello, Nolan. The side is the temporal bone. Yeah, the temporal bone. Yeah, here's the oh yeah, the frontal bone, the frontal bone, temporal bone, the parietal bone. That's the back of the head. Thank you, Ray. Okay, now what we have here, what the planes are telling us. I'm just giving information about light, midtones, and shadows, and that's exactly what we need. And which are the more important values, the darker ones. And let me tell you, if you're a beginner, usually you're gonna paint. Most of beginners are gonna paint the shadows a little bit lighter than they really are. That happened I think to everyone. Okay, now I'm gonna start mixing at least a couple of values. That's the less you can mix. If you are able to mix more, 4 or 5 values, that would be better. I got here titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, raw umber, ultramarine blue, and ivory black. Okay, I'm gonna mix just orange and white. I'm going to knock down the color with a touch of raw umber. You can knock down the colors with raw umber, blue, or even black. I would recommend raw umber. If you add blue, maybe the mixture is going to just turn to greenish color. The same is going to happen with black. Okay, you got one color. It's not the lightest light on the face. Okay, but we can see clearly. Look at the planes. Okay, you gotta just, if you're able to print out all these images and you got all of them with you, that would be pretty good. And go pretty slowly, check out the planes, check out the light on the face. And this is a trickery view. Pretty sure you're gonna draw a face like this in the same position so many times. It could be a guy, it could be a man, older, younger. The light and the shadows are gonna be the same. Okay, why? Because you see the score. When you see the score, the bones, the bone structure is the same for every human being. And then the planes follow, the bone structure. Okay. Now I'm gonna mix a darker color. I prefer to use different brushes when I paint on the Patreon live paint along sessions on Patreon, or when I paint here on YouTube. I prefer to use different brushes because in this way I'm not cleaning each brush. That saves me time. Sometimes when I paint just here, I use just a couple of brushes, and the time that I keep cleaning the brushes is the time that I keep just staring at the painting or stepping back just to check out how my painting is going. Okay, I got one more color. That's another value. Okay, I add more paint as I just continue mixing more and trying to match the color. Right now, you don't see a match on the color. That's okay. Don't worry about that. More important, that's gonna be you got light, midtones, and shadows, and after that, you're gonna try to match the colors. You're gonna need time. You're gonna just have time to repaint here and there, and a few times you're gonna match the colors just from the very beginning. Sometimes that happens. Okay, let me go back to this brush. I'm gonna light up this one. I need to add some light on the upper eyelid. And we did this for 1 full year, trying to compare always with the bones, with the planes. That was pretty amazing. The next year, when you study anatomy, it was just about animals. I remember I was kind of disappointed because I wanted just to continue studying human, portraits. Everything was about animals and comparing always the bones. I remember the School of Art there was a sculpture of a big cat, maybe a lion, something like that, and it was amazing how the mandible, it was so big. That's because the masseter muscle that goes from the temporal side, the temporal bone to the mandible is really thick on felines. Okay, now I'm gonna mix a darker value. I'm gonna move over here. Raw umber, a little bit of white and yellow. In the last year, it was about anatomy, the human body, the full human body. That was pretty good too. Oh, and I remember the first time that we touched a real scar. That was scary. I was in my 20s, my friends, we were just 18, 19 years old. And the teacher showed us a real scar. And it was not just about seeing the scar, it's about touching the scar. And some of my friends didn't touch the scar. Obviously, it was pretty clean, but I did it. I touched the scar. I wanted to, learn more and more. And I did that when I was a teacher. I did the same. And the same happened. Some of the students, they didn't want to touch the scar. And to complement that, I used to say, close your eyes and touch it everywhere, you know, like mapping out the scar with your fingers. Now that I'm moving to color, you notice that I don't use too much colors at the beginning. Just, I'm still in this mapping stage where I'm just thinking about values, and the best way to be accurate with values is just to separate color from value. It's impossible to separate color from value, I gotta say that, but we gotta try that. How? Just working with few colors, just with a value scale. Like, let's say that we are just drawing with one color. In that way, we can just pay attention on these first stages, just to light, midtones, and shadows, the volume. Okay, we have the bone structure, we have the plane structure. Now we're gonna have at the same time one color structure. That's gonna be pretty simple. But on top of this, we add more and more colors and more paint. Okay, let's see, I got a question. Hello, for what? Hello, Sylvia. Hello, Brad. Harp is saying, what do you prefer, raw umber over burnt umber? Yeah, no, it's nothing special about that. I could use burnt umber too. Yep, that's, it's just that sometimes, let's say you're gonna see me using cobalt blue instead of ultramarine blue, and it could be a simple reason that as like I couldn't find my tube of ultramarine blue, and then I use cobalt blue or phthalo blue or vice versa. I prefer ultramarine blue because it's just darker, and sometimes I want a darker color, but I want a darker color from the mixture of raw umber and ultramarine blue, which is going to be pretty dark. And sometimes I want to see a real dark value, the darker one, and for that I just gonna pick up pure black, just black, and put it down. That's gonna be my darker value. The same way that we have a lighter value on the face, we need to look for those darker values too. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna paint the background. I'm gonna copy the window. I find the window pretty beautiful. I have a Patreon account, to know where you can just join for free as a free member and get access to these pictures I have here. Okay, and you don't need to pay anything, just but you gotta join. You gotta just join as a free member, which means you gotta just enter your name and email, all of that. And at the same time, you're gonna see you're gonna be able to watch 5 free recorded sessions from the live paint along sessions. And you're gonna meet some of the members of the Patreon, my Patreon account. Okay. I think I should have painted the face more to the left. I'm using a little bit of linseed oil, just regular linseed oil. And I usually use linseed oil for the background, just to spread the paint a bit faster, to save some time. With the same brush, just I pick up white. It means that this white is not going to be really light, because on the I got this color in the brush, and that's going to give me like a really light gray, light bluish gray. Okay. Now that basically I have painted. Oh no, I was about to say that I painted everything, but I see here that I can just paint this a bit darker. And the forehead a bit darker too. That anatomy class, I remember, made me doubt about being a painter or a sculptor, because when we paint, we deal with a flat surface. When we sculpt, we deal with form, real three-dimensional form, and that gives you some advantages when you paint. I remember, when you draw, let's say, because I always remember that all the sculptors were really good drawers. You know that because on the drawing session we all were together. We all, painters, sculptors. We shared the same classroom for drawing. But it cannot be a coincidence that all the sculptors were really good on drawing. I think when you touch the form, you get more information than just drawing on a flat surface. That's why this teacher just make it touch the score, and I did the same with my students. You got more, and the idea about painting is just getting more and more information, and we don't have, let's say, all the time to just copy all the information from the face. And the face could have, who knows, 1,000 details. And when we paint, without realizing, we are just picking, up the more important features, the more important areas that we see, or values, to create the illusion that is a real face with volume and three-dimensionally on a flat surface, and even to create the illusion that it has some light. For that, we gotta move to color theory to create the illusion of three-dimensionality with color, because everything helps. Values, color. When it's about color, it's about temperature, it's about contrast, and one more thing that helps is the material. Oil is transparent. Okay, we can take advantage of the transparency of the oil for the shadows. That's why there is a rule that the shadows usually are thinner in paint and the lights thicker on paint. Okay. Why? Because the skin is translucent, not completely, but it's a little bit translucent. We can notice in some areas, for example, when the light is passing through our fingers, when we just block the sun with our hands, we see, the light passing through the skin. The light basically bounces inside the skin and then goes out for another area with more color and saturation. That's why it's always reddish, mostly reddish, let's say, or warmer, let's say a warmer color. I'm squinting down my eyes. I mix raw umber with alizarin crimson. I love this rich, dark color. If we see around the mouth, we gotta think where are the darker values on the mouth. And what I see the darker value around the mouth is the bottom lip. The bottom lip, this area is the darker value around the mouth. Okay. When I check out the nose, I see the darker value is here. Okay, that's too reddish. I'm gonna add a little bit of raw umber. When I check out up here, the darker value is here and here. That's too reddish. I'm gonna just use more raw umber. Okay. Hello, Nolan. Ultramarine is a warmer blue. Cobalt is cooler, and phthalo is a green blue. Okay, yeah. I would say the ultramarine is a cool blue. I mean, at least the one I have. Yeah. Yeah, Pierre is saying about my other channels. Yeah, I thought, a year ago, maybe a couple of years ago, there was a good idea to create more channels for, for one for drawing and one for acrylics. And, I don't have the time now to put the links. But if you look for on my channel, you're gonna see there is an option that says favorite channels, and the two first favorite channels are just that one is the drawing channel and the other one is acrylics. I thought it was a good idea. Now I think now that it was not a good idea because I cannot deliver videos for all the channels. The one that I care more, it was this one, and the second one, the drawing one, because I just love to draw. I try to draw every day. The thing is, sometimes it's different when you just sketch something really fast and then we just go live because you gotta just draw something for an hour or 2 hours. The thing is that in my drawing channel you can find a lot of live streamings, drawing live streamings, portraits too. Yeah. And for the people that speak Spanish, I have Spanish channel too. But nowadays, I think that's not that important anymore. Looks like YouTube is using AI to dub. That's the word, dub. Dubbing all the videos. That means that you can just listen to this video in a different language. Hello, Alida. Thank you. Hello, Bob. Okay. Oh, I got a donation. Thank you so much for this donation on coffee. I have a link to coffee in the description box. And I got a donation from Brad Harper. Thank you so much, Brad. Okay. And I got another donation from Rachel May. Rachel May. Thank you so much, Rachel May. Yeah. Getting some money. There is an option too here that's called Super Chat. Super Chat. That people can just donate there. I think it's at the bottom of the chat box. Okay, I'm gonna make here the light even lighter. Okay, here is when you can think about the bonds. Okay, why? Here is the psychomatic bond, and there's gonna be always light there. I would say it doesn't matter the angle of the light. There's gonna be always a little bit of light on the cheekbone. We usually know this as a cheekbone. It's just easier to remember. The name is zygomatic bone. Yeah? And here we're gonna have light where and the nasal bone. Okay, there's gonna be more light there if those planes are facing the light. For that, look at the upper photograph. You see the planes, yeah, facing the light. Now you see how I'm changing the colors. I'm adding more light. Once you painted everything, you're gonna be able to compare easily, and you're gonna see what's the mistake. I mean, don't consider that a mistake, because at the first stages, I don't think there's gonna be a way to get everything just dead on values and colors. Maybe few times, but usually after we paint, we are just easy to compare. It's easy when you have something painted and say and just see that, hey, I need more light here. Now here, thus look at the planes on top, and at the same time look at the other image from the score one, and we can just see that this area is rounded. And at the same time, I gotta complicate things a bit more for you all. Think about primary form. Yes, that's what we do on the Patreon sessions. We go over this information over and over about planes, primary forms. A primary form is just a sphere, a box, a cylinder, and a cone. A primary form helps us to understand how the lights move on the surface and how it goes from light to mid-tone shadow, core shadow. The core shadow is the area that is not getting any light from the light source. Okay, and then the light is bouncing and it's creating just next to the core shadow a reflected light. You just look for a sphere with all the names or the values on the sphere, print out, and you're gonna have a reminder there. Okay. That's a reflected light. Look at that. That means that the core shadow in this case is here. This is a core shadow. It goes like this. Okay. Look at that. What a coincidence where the planes are changing here, whereas the cheekbone that basically split the face and create one plane here and one frontal plane here. That's why it's pretty important, the zygomatic bone. Okay, I'm gonna blend a little bit. Okay. Hello, Fuad. Oh, Fuad is saying, is there a raw umber and burnt brown that is opaque? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Thank you, Ray J. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, pretty sure there is. Also, there is so many colors, but usually those colors are transparent. The raw umber I have here, that even is Winton, you know, is transparent, and the other one I have that's Rembrandt is even more transparent than this one. Oh, I was about to blend. Sorry, I need to look for my brush for painting. But if you cannot find an opaque, you know, raw umber, you can just add a touch of another color. Maybe I could suggest Naples yellow. Yeah. As I continue painting, you know, we move from the scar, the planes, to create volume. Always thinking, hey, why we see this bump here and this bump here? Check out the photograph of the scar, the scar's photograph. Check out why we see a bump here, zygomatic bone. Okay, remember? Okay, why we see light and shadow here? Because of the planes of the face. Okay, that's pretty amazing how you can synchronize all that information. Okay, I'm gonna put the not this one, not this one. Where is the? Oh, this one. Yeah, look at that. I'm gonna switch from this image to the other from time to time. Okay. Now, when you paint a portrait, blending is not the goal. It's not what's gonna make the painting beautiful. It's the combination of everything, and be careful with blending because sometimes you can just blend away the shadows. If you don't have the shadows, you don't have lights. You see lights because of the shadows. And if there is no shadows, the face becomes a little bit flat. Okay. I'm gonna grade down more this mixture. with more raw umber and white, a little bit of orange. Okay, a little bit darker, but keep it gray down. That's too light. A little bit darker. Maybe that's too grayish. If I add a little bit of yellow, I'm gonna have this color a little bit greenish. Okay. Okay, a little bit greenish works too. A little bit reddish too. Okay. More raw umber. Raw umber is a pretty good color, just to darken up any color really fast. Let's get some edges, soft edges. Don't forget about edges. Sharp edges can just harm your painting and make it look cartoonish. Okay, squinting down my eyes, I notice that I have too much light here. Now, as I continue adding more paint, I'm gonna continue adding more colors. Now I got basically a basic skin color, okay? Like a drawing, like a sanguine drawing. Now we can just think about temperature, and we can think, hey, what if I just mixed some violet? I'm gonna try to make this violet too much of value on the skin. Okay, it could be here. Now the colors that you need to just to have on the skin are just this. Let's go over that first. Some reddish colors on the nose, okay, cheeks, just mix the color darker and lighter, chin, okay, and eyelids. Just respect the value. Okay, now there is some greenish areas on the face. I repeat this on every video. You can just go check out. You can pick up from my videos the one picture that you would love to paint from, and you're gonna find a lot of information too. Okay, green. Let's make it a little bit lighter. A little bit green here. Where is what? The bottom of the eye socket. Okay, the nasal bone, you have a little bit of green in one side here, there, and all this area is a little bit greenish too, around the mouth. More on men than women, okay, but there's a little bit here too. We can add a little bit of green. Let's say that you need those colors, reddish and greenish colors. And now you can play with more colors, thinking about contrast, thinking about temperature. Okay. What about this one? I love this one. Okay. Let's paint a little bit there. Yeah. It's a really cool color. And as you continue painting, you're gonna need to continue drawing. What I mean by drawing is check out proportions. Okay, use a mirror. Okay. Feel free to ask me any question. Okay, let's see, I need to light up more the light on the face, even more. Okay. Cleaning one brush, and I think I'm gonna paint a bit more of the window because I see some beautiful colors there, and I think I can paint here a little bit darker to create more contrast. Now here you can use different blues to create the light on the window. So ultramarine blue is not going to be enough. And ultramarine blue with white just gives you always a really cool color. And you see the color on the window is not that cool. It's more grayish. Okay, you could use a little bit of cerulean blue. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow and red. Oops, I added too much red. No, that's okay. I'm gonna add blue on top. See the shadows. I think there's more shadow here on the forehead, kind of coming from the hair like this. Remember, that's a core shadow. Okay, squinting down my eyes again. Okay, thinking about darker areas. Okay, again, darker here, darker here, darker here. Okay. Okay. Now, hello LGT. Are you using the same brush for mixing and painting, or do you have numerous brushes? Yeah, I have a lot of brushes. I prefer to use one brush for each color. In that way I save time cleaning the brushes, and I can move just a little bit faster here. Okay. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm going for a little bit of water. I'll be back in just 1 minute. In that way, at the same time, I'm gonna rest my eyes from the paint. Okay. I'm back. Oh, Brad Harper is saying, what kind of lighting do you prefer when painting in the studio? Yeah, I love this lighting that you see on the photograph. The light coming from the left or the right and shadowing one side. That's pretty good. And maybe you're speaking about my lighting here in my studio. I have a lot of just fluorescent lights, like maybe four or five. Okay, Pierre, or Pierre, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Now I'm gonna light up the lights. I'm gonna use more paint. I'm gonna use a filbert brush. White. With a little bit of yellow, just a touch. No linseed oil. I'm using the same color from the light that's here, the light is here, and the light that's here, and here too. But I'm gonna make a difference as soon as I start adding more colors and blending, because obviously the light on her neck is not as light and bright as the light on the forehead, and the same happens with the light on the chin. It's not as light as the light on the forehead. Okay, now a little bit of blending. one brush. I'm gonna mix orangey color. I'm gonna put it here. Doing it a bit. I think I need more. Where's the brush? This one. Yeah, more red. Add a little bit of alizarin crimson and more red. The same is here. The same is here. Okay, I can use this for a reflected light from the bottom lip, on the bottom portion of the upper lip. The same is here. Okay, a bit more of this saturated color here. Okay, and a little bit here, the bright lid. Now we need a smaller brush for blending those areas. Just 1 second, I'm cleaning one tiny brush I have here. It's not that tiny anymore because the hair of this little brush is all frayed out, which makes the brush perfect for blending, especially blending on smaller areas. Just to do this to kind of make it pointy again. Blend a little bit. Clean the brush. Okay, now let's work on the eyes. A little bit of a pinky color with a touch of yellow. When I'm drawing here, and imagine that the eye is made of a circle and a triangle. A circle for the iris, a triangle for the white of the eye. And I try to get the relationship between one and the other. Okay, basically what I do is simplify the form to a simple primary shape. There's nothing more simpler than a triangle and a circle. just by doing that, for me it's just easier to copy the eye. And now the same happens for the upper part of the eye. For example, I'm thinking about that is made of just two diagonal lines, one here and another one here. Okay. Another thing, I don't paint the area where we see the eyebrows really dark because it's not dark. The only darker spot on the eyes is gonna be the iris, and sometimes the eyelashes, where we see the eyelashes. A few of them, if you paint the eyelashes just really dark, they're not gonna look natural. Okay. Here, for example, a little bit of black for the pupil here. You can just have this eye a little bit soft. We don't need a lot of details. I'm gonna paint a bit more there, but right now just a little bit softer, that's good. Okay, now a little bit of the upper eyelid. Okay. Okay. This purple, light purple for the white of the eye. Again, simplify the form. What do you see there? A triangle again, a rectangle, The mandible, I think, is a bit more tilted. Eileen Grange is saying it's 5 a.m. here. Just joined my first live stream. Oh, thank you, Eileen. Yeah, and welcome. Pretty early. Oh, Brad Harper is asking me, when painting or drawing the initial proportions of the face, is it easier to use one eye and close the other? Yeah, it could be. Well, to be honest, I never tried that. But when I did the initial proportions, I care more about using a tool, for example, proportional divider, and measure, like something like this, from the eyebrow to the nose, from the nose to the chin. And then 3 portions here, 1, 2, 3, and then split this portion in 2. You got 1 and 2 here. It's more about measuring. You can use a tool or you can just do it visually, but mostly about just measuring and measuring. Yeah. I mean, I think everything works. If closing one eye works for you, yeah, definitely you gotta do it more than once, because if it works, we tend to repeat what works. Yeah. It's kind of, we use things that we learned from somebody else that this person has proved that works, and on our just way, on our just walking this road of learning, we just came out with new things that could happen by accident, or sometimes some suggestions, and sometimes we got some suggestions for even people that don't paint. But I think that we gotta just take everything we got, look for all the information, and use all the tools we find. Even tracing. But hey, I'm not recommending tracing. Even tracing, when I say that, I think just in some people that someday maybe they don't feel like drawing, and when we paint a la prima, it's just we do a lot of things. We think about anatomy, planes, proportions, all of that, and there is something that tortures us all during the whole process, and it's like the likeness with the subject. We constantly checking out the likeness. It looks like the subject. Yeah, and I would say, one of these practices, just relax, trace it, and care about values in color more than, and don't get distracted by the drawing, because you have traced it. Just in that case, to have a balance. Okay. Yeah, but if somebody is just maybe not drawing enough, I would say never traced. Just try to paint everything by eye. Force your eyes. But if you have painted from observation a lot, maybe one of the times you can just trace, to rest your eyes and pay attention to other things. Because I know that it's pretty difficult to respect the process when something gets on the way. And likeness is that something that gets on the way. When I have done some demos when I was a teacher. Okay, in front of, for my students and for the School of Art where I used to work, used to send me with not just me, all of my friends, to do demos here and there around the city. Okay, they coordinate the day and all of that, and we just go and make a demo. The thing is that when I'm painting here, I'm trying to follow a process, and I show in every video, the process. Okay, at some point, I'm gonna start thinking about the likeness more and more, But thus, you're not gonna hear me like, hey, look at the likeness at the first stages, maybe not the first hour. I'm not gonna speak about likeness at all. At this stage, I could think, hey, check out more the likeness, if it's the person or not. If I gotta make a change in something, move the eyebrow a little bit down or up, make the eyes a little bit bigger or smaller. Okay, I think about that. Now, going back on the story when I went to make some live demos, you're there painting in front of people, and some people doesn't know about art, some people does know about art, but that's the public, and you're painting in front of all of them. Okay, I'm working, let's say, and some people say, hey, it doesn't look like the person. That could be pretty distracting, and that could just take you out of, let's say, your process, and say, no, okay, I'm gonna check out the likeness. And you gotta be pretty, how do you say it, neat, strict with the process. You gotta respect the process, your process, and don't let any comment or anything just get in the way how you work, because it's gonna be so distracting. And that happened to me. I was painting, a teacher in the school of, there was in a school for teenagers, and somebody says, okay, paint the teacher. I say, okay, I'm gonna paint the teacher, and I hear a comment saying, hey, it doesn't look like her. I say, okay. It kind of disrupt my process, and I start thinking about just likeness, and it was just everything that I care about. I learned to just to ignore and just continue thinking about values, thinking about proportions, and slowly moving to the likeness. Okay, and if I don't get the likeness, it's gonna be for the next time. It's just this is not easy. That pretty sure you all here have painted a portrait before. It's not easy to get the likeness. Don't be so hard on you. If one day you don't get it, it's gonna happen maybe the next day, the next time. That's the thing. And now the process that I follow, the beginning is thinking about planes, thinking about anatomy, proportions, the Loomis proportions that you can find, the Loomis proportions everywhere out there. Okay, when I got that, I started thinking about primary forms, to start molding the face, areas of the face following primary forms. Okay, and as I continue, I see the face that is just getting closer to the model's face, and then I'm thinking, hey, she has more shadow here than there. She has the eyes more open, like this way or this way. When I was painting the eye, I was thinking just a triangle and a circle. Now I'm painting this, really not a triangle. It's not as simple as a triangle, and now I try to get the form of this triangle, the form of the white of the eye, sorry. And I start just jumping around the face, and at the same time I'm thinking more about color, that That's what I mentioned, that we move around so many things when we paint the face. A little bit of this, pinky color, for example, and I can think at the same time a little bit of green next to the. Okay. Again with the same brush, and just more red here. Now I clean the brush. Let's say green again. Where? Just here, next to the red. Why? Because I'm thinking about contrast, complementary contrast. The green there is gonna make the red glow. A little bit of orange. Touch of orange there. Now maybe it's too light. Need to knock it down. It's pretty amazing. Yes, I love the process. And I'm thinking, hey, where's the core shadow? In my head, I'm just flying all the rules. For example, the core shadow is here. And it goes like this, like this, like this. Okay, core shadow. It's not like I saw it first. I thought first about that, and then I look for the core shadow. Sometimes is we see things, and sometimes it's the knowledge that help us to see things. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. I'm gonna add cerulean blue because I'm gonna paint the window. Just a little bit of cerulean blue here. Adding the cerulean blue directly from the tube. A little bit of yellow because I see it a little bit greenish. Greenish, grayish. Yeah, like it better like that. I'm gonna move this portion of the window a little bit down. Yeah, beautiful. And from time to time, you gotta cheer up yourself. Now I'm using black just because I want to just get to the darker value faster. That's not a recommendation. Black can just kill any color really fast. Just use it when you have to, when you don't. You're like, I'm just right now. I'm just trying to get things done a little bit faster, especially here where I don't need like a lot of things. Just I want to just paint this faster to put attention to the face again. Okay. Any more questions? Might be darker. Maybe I should darken up the window a little bit more than what I see on the photograph. Yeah, I think this is gonna make the face pop. Contrast always helps. And a sharp edge here is gonna be pretty good, but not a sharp edge on the neck. On the neck, we need a soft edge. Pretty soft, even lost. the frame here. See, that's a window. You can see the wall out. This frame should be aligned with this one, yeah? Made a mistake here. It's because I moved this frame down. It should be like this. It should be here. Makes more sense. And here, just get rid of the frame. That's good. Now I can just add more colors to this area. A little bit of yellow and a little white. Or got more white, more white. That's too dark, that orange. A little bit of blue and a lot of white. With this violet here. More yellow there. I can add more and more colors. Pink. The same for the hair. For example, I can pick up pure blue. Since it's dark, we don't see it. We know it's there and it's adding more color. Pick up all the darker colors you have. Okay, let's continue on the face. Shadow there. Color shadow there. Just like that, little by little, putting down like little pieces of color. Okay, this is too light. Pure white for the nose. Sometimes pure white it doesn't work. We need to mix the white to make it brighter. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah? If you've been watching my channel, you know that I love to mix white with green, chrome green or emerald green. And usually this color glows and creates a nice touch. Nice highlight. I'm gonna make a close up. Okay. Look at that. You see the greenish color there? Hey. Where's my brush for blending? Okay, here it is. Okay. Squinting down my eyes again, always adjusting values. Look at the eyebrow. I'm gonna use black and a little bit of red. But it should be dark, like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's better. No. Here, dark again. Oops, that's too dark. Yeah. Let's blend it a little bit. Something that you notice at some point, I start just jumping all around the face, here and there. Okay, because if I stay in one side, you just get caught up in one side, maybe you're gonna stay there and working on more and more details, and when you step back, you notice that you have moved something, maybe the mouth, maybe the nose. It's better just to move around the face and check out like the position of the nose and the mouth, everything at once, because most of the problems are because something has moved and the proportions are not good. One eye is up, the nose is longer, you know, the chin is shorter, and you need to redo it. And that's the best is always thinking about all the features and the relationship between them, because a face is about the relationship between the eyes, nose, and mouth. First, we think about the placement. Where are they placed in this space? Okay, and after that, we think about the size of each feature on this space. We can paint, bigger eyes, and we need to change that, make the eyes smaller. But how we know that? Because we check in always the relationship between the size of one and another. Okay, that's the thing. That's why I say at some point jump around the painting, use a mirror, think about the size of the nose, a relationship with, the mouth. Another highlight on the eyes. I need to see more vivid eyes. Oh, Brad is asking me, hello Jonas. Thank you, Andreas. Do you ever use neon oil color for portraits, the glowing under black light? Oh, never. I didn't know that existed. But oils, with oils, that could maybe acrylics? Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know. And I'm gonna just look for more information about that. Yeah. I would love to try. A little bit of yellow and white. This highlight here. There's a cast shadow from the hair. on this, the corner of the mouth, there's always a bump because of the muscles that goes to the corner of the mouth and around the mouth. I remember that I have seen some paintings that people just turn on a different light. Let's say they paint a portrait with different colors, let's say a violet and shadow and a yellow light, or vice versa. And then when they turn on a red light or another light, you see skin colors, pretty realistic skin colors. Maybe that's what you mentioning, Brad. I saw it, but I enjoyed seeing, but I never thought like, hey, what's the material? Now you got me thinking about that. Next time I'm gonna just check out what they are using to create that effect. It could be just the light, or it could be the oil. Well, what I said something about the highlight on the eye, and I forgot. Okay, let's add a highlight here and a highlight here. Oh, yeah. Oh, Brad is saying I received a sample of UV fluorescent neon oil paints from Gapka. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Brad. Yeah. Brad is saying you message me an address to send you some to Peru. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Are those expensive? Are those new, or something that just I didn't know? It's not new. I didn't know about those materials. Oh, it's a new company in Pennsylvania. Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. I just imagine the possibilities of all the things that we can do with fluorescent colors. I'm thinking more than what could happen if we add a fluorescent color. That's something that I did a few times. I toned down my canvas with fluorescent colors. Yeah, and that was pretty good. That was pretty nice for some paintings. Yeah. But I did it just as a way to experiment. At the end, uh, if I do that, I should plan ahead more what I'm gonna do with the color, the background, to be able to take advantage of a fluorescent color, or tone down my canvas with a fluorescent color. I remember I did it once, and I did use pink, a fluorescent acrylic pink, because I toned my canvas with acrylic. The color was pretty bright, obviously fluorescent color, really bright. It took me a lot of layers to get rid of the brightness, but I gotta say that the feeling was pretty nice in some areas of the painting. You know, you can feel that it was a color that it was different. Even I remember in that time I shared a studio with a couple of friends. One of my friends asked me, "Oh, how do you get those colors? You know, it looks like colors that I haven't seen before." Even that is not it's subtle, but they were painters, and for their eyes, you know, that one of those colors, it was something that maybe they didn't have on their palette. So, and I said, okay, I did use this, you know, I did add a layer, and I did it because I saw a friend. I remember more now. I went to visit a friend. He paints, I think he still paints urban landscapes, and mostly buildings. You know, not perfect buildings, just like blurry buildings, kind of abstract buildings, some of them. And the good thing is that he painted some night scenes, and you can see the warm light showing through the windows of those buildings, and that the light was glowing pretty nice. Wow, I say, wow, that light, you know, is glowing. And he showed me that he was just adding a fluorescent red and then painting the building, and didn't paint the windows. And the windows were showing the fluorescent red. And from a distance, looks like there was even some light, you know, behind the canvas, because there was a lot of contrast. It was a night scene. The building and the sky, everything was pretty dark. That's not something new, you know. You can try. Everybody can try. It's not that there are secrets for things. Is how we use that information on our paintings. And he used that pretty good on his paintings. And for me, I tried a couple of paintings. I didn't try it more because I thought, well, you know, it's just like I didn't need that. And I don't need now. I don't think right now that I would need a fluorescent color, unless I paint maybe a really bright background. Maybe in that case, or a surrealistic scene. Maybe in that case. But for a portrait like I'm painting now, my orangey canvas is good enough. Sometimes I painted on a grayish canvas. Yep, those are colors that are good enough for me. They have enough transparency for a skin color. A little bit of green, a little bit of violet. These colors are pretty subtle. We don't even see them really clear, but we know those colors are here. Let me zoom in to show you. In a minute. Just for everybody that's here, please remember to press the like button. If you did it, thank you so much. And if somebody's new, maybe you can consider just join, subscribe to my channel. Okay. Okay, I have a thin brush here, and I think I'm gonna just smooth out the background. A little bit of this purple. Oh, here's another idea. I think some painters, Brad Harper is saying, I think some painters paint the UV fluorescent acrylics over glass and put a small lamp behind to provide glow. Oh yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. What I saw is some uh, paintings that they, they do that, but I remember a scene that was beautiful for me, and it was a boat or a ship on the ocean, an old ship, really old ship, and and again a night scene, like the ship just in a storm with huge waves around, and the lights in the ship, they were just pretty bright, and that was amazing. That was an amazing scene. When I get closer, I saw that there were actually lights behind the canvas. There. That was a pretty nice painting. And speaking about more than 20 years ago that I saw a painting like that, and pretty sure I have seen more paintings like that. Maybe I should try more, because and I started to think that I'm too traditional with the things that I use. I stick with oils, I stick with linseed oil as my medium, and I don't try anything new. Oh, the other medium I use is liquid when I want to paint something, when I want something to dry faster because it's a commission or something like that. Uh, just, just that, and I see more orange beneath the chin on the neck. Maybe too much orange. Yeah, but I like it. I'm gonna keep it. Yeah. One thing I noticed that the forehead is just too light compared with the shadow here on the face. Need to make it darker and grayish. White and yellow for the hair, the light on the hair. I noticed that the shadow is maybe grayish and darker on the skin. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna keep it like that. My painting has a bit more color, and I like it with a bit more color. Obviously, it wasn't my intention. That's what we call an accident. It's up to you consider this a hobby or not. accident. I consider this a happy accident. The eyebrow again. This is something that's gonna happen so often. You paint an area and don't think that you're done. You're gonna find yourself going back to the same area to repaint something again and again. That happens because we are just constantly adjusting values, and if you blend, maybe by mistake you're gonna blend away some values. You're not gonna notice at the moment you're doing, but as soon as you step back, you're gonna notice that some of the values are just off or too light or too dark. As I'm making this darker, I see the reflected light here becoming lighter. I wanna knock down this. A little bit of purple again. Just a brush stroke there. A little bit of raw umber and red, which creates a warmer brown for the cheek. A little bit of green. Darker green. Just a few touches, okay? Below the eye. Oh, A. Tarkanis is saying if it's possible to paint a realistic portrait with acrylics. Yeah, I have seen hyper-realistic portrait. Yeah? I have seen amazing hyper-realistic portraits. Yeah. With acrylics, with pastels, with oil. Yeah. I don't know what they use, but I have painted with acrylics, and I think in order to paint or try to paint a hyper-realistic work, I think using something that slow down the dry time process of acrylics is going to be pretty useful. I have seen a lot. Don't remember the names, but those paintings are always pretty amazing. All the amount of detail that the painter put, to create a lot of hours of work. Yeah. As you can see, there's pretty dark here on the upper eyelid. Oh, a mistake I have here. The angle of the eye. Yeah, that's not good. A touch of pure red here. A touch of pure red here. Pure red again here. And here. Yeah, I think it can Tarkan. Yeah, I think it's possible. For what I know about acrylics, there is a brand, Golden Acrylics, that they already dry pretty slow. And for I have not used them, but for the people that know that I have used them, they dry just like, maybe not as slow as oil paint, but definitely they dry pretty slow. It gives you all the time to make retouches for an hour or maybe even more than an hour, which is a lot. Gold or Golden Acrylics. That's the brand. And one of my patrons, he used to paint with those. He painted once with those, and I think he found them pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna add some eyelashes, a little bit. Eyelashes here too. Almost done. Almost done. mixing light yellow, light pink, light green. I have light green here. Let me see if I can just zoom into. See. Oh, it's not clear. But you see the colors I have here. I would love to zoom in that there's a little bit more. Okay, almost done. I need my film brush to soften here and there. Oh, this one is not too soft. I need another one. Let me see if I can just, maybe this brush. Too reddish, a little bit of yellow. Okay, I think I'm almost done. A smaller brush for blending here. I think I got too much detail closer to the tear duct. Yeah, there. That's better. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you liked the video. I hope you have learned something. don't forget to press the like button. And if you want to paint along with me, I have live paint along sessions on my Patreon. We draw at night. Today we draw from in 3 hours. We have a live drawing session. We paint tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we paint with pastels, maybe a landscape or still life. And Saturdays we paint portraits for 4 or 5 hours. Similar to these sessions, all of that on Patreon. Okay. Thank you again, and see you all next week. I'm trying to add light blue, light yellow, light red, all of those colors here. It's pretty subtle, but they do something there. Definitely, color does something. Sometimes it could be more colorful, sometimes it could be pretty subtle. That's up to you. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much, you all, for being here. Thank you so much for the coffees. I got, coffee from. I got so bad with names. From. I want to mention the names. Just 1 second. From Brad Harper. Thank you. And from Rachel May, thank you. Okay, I got enough caffeine for the whole week. Thank you so much, you all. Take care, and see you all next week. Bye. Oh, I just saw as soon as I stepped back that I didn't paint the shoulder here. Okay. Bye, everybody.